All right, let's start at a nice, just easy restorative, kind of gentle back bend heart opener here. So you could use either a bolster to lay back on. If you want to get into the shoulders, the thoracic a little more, kind of feel that release. If you have a blanket, you're going to take it kind of out in the quarter fold, and you can kind of make shift depending upon what you're doing. And then you're going to make a skinny little roll up here. All right, so that is going to go on your mat. And then you're going to want to have something potentially for underneath your head. So another blanket might work. You may or may not need that. And then also something for underneath your knees. So blocks would work. Another bolster would work. A couple pillows from the couch. So kind of just use whatever you have around. You're going to sit against the skinny end, so it's going to come up against the back of your tailbone, sacrum area, and you might have to kind of adjust here. So as you know, the name of the game for our restorative class is to feel really, really comfortable. And you're going to lay back here. So with this skinny roll, it's really nice because you start to get this release of the shoulders down. And then if you have some support under your head, you want it literally supporting the full length of your neck, so it feels really easy. You may or may not need that. Oh, and let's take a deep inhale. Sigh the breath out, let it go. Ha. Do that a couple more times. So letting any stress kind of just exit your body for the next little bit. A lot going on in the world, in our country, in our backyard. So give yourself an opportunity to quiet down here, check in, and start to connect with your breath. So that might be the most important piece of our restorative practice. In addition to letting the muscles relax, we really want to connect with our breath. We want it to be nice and easy. We want to fill up with oxygen a little more. We want to have complete exhales. We want to find this nice rhythm of the breath. So if you practice Ujjayi breath, so that's that inhale through the nose and that exhale through the nose, in which you constrict the backs or the sides of the throat, so you create a little sound, you're welcome to do that. It's also not necessary today. So if you just prefer to have a nice, easy inhale, then a full, complete exhale, you can just find that so it's a little more natural. Right away, you're trying to keep the length of the inhale and the length of the exhale nice and even. And sometimes starting out, it can feel helpful to count the breath. So inhaling to the count of 6 or 7. And then exhaling to that same number. Once you've found that symmetry of your breath, of the inhale and the exhale, I want you to do a little scan of your body. So start down at your feet, gently work your way up. Observe if you get to any places where you're holding tension, where you're gripping or holding on, can you soften in those spots? So a lot of the culprits tend to be the extremities. So maybe you're kind of clenching the toes and the fingers. Here in this pose, the inner thigh can grip. So release there. This is a really nice position to find this openness across the heart and chest, but even that being said, shoulders can creep up around the ears. So you're always just gently reminding yourself to release them down. And then of course, there can be tension in the face, the jaw. So just keeping everything really easy here. And we're going to drop into this for, a good 4 or 5 minutes. I'm not going to say much. I want you to be able to just have a lot of quiet today. I will say that the purpose here is not necessarily to fall asleep. However, if you do, that's a good thing. It means you need it. We are definitely dropping into this place of deep rest, but we're doing so with this awareness of the breath. So again, you can follow your breath. You can follow the sensations in your body that happen as you breathe. As you inhale, there's that big expansion, especially in the rib cage. And then there's that contraction of everything as you exhale. Sometimes it can get a little scary to get this quiet. We start to ruminate on things, worry about things. There's a lot to worry about. And that's okay too. But you want to find these pockets where you're getting a little bit of stillness. And we start to string more of those moments together. For a lot of us, restorative class feels absolutely wonderful. It's like this great gift. It's easy for us to kind of surrender to this quiet space. But conversely, for a lot of us, this is really, really challenging. We're really trained to be busy all the time, to be getting things done, to be checking things off the to-do list. So sometimes with all of the busyness, it helps us to sort of tune out other things we might need to listen to. So getting still and quiet can be a little challenging. Things might come up. If that's where you're at today, know that that's all right. And then maybe just gently give yourself permission to explore the stillness, to explore this idea of relaxing and not doing anything. Accepting the idea that in doing nothing, actually a lot happens sometimes. We give our brains a little break. We give our bodies a break. We even start to prime the creativity pump. And if that's absolutely just not in the cards for you today, if it's just not happening, just smile at what comes up. Just be okay with it, whether it's good or bad. And do your best to also find those moments where you're returning to your breath. Again, we've got a couple minutes here. Are you holding anywhere that you don't need to? It's interesting how that just happens without our awareness. So again, soften in those places. Conversely, you might feel really relaxed here. You might be feeling a little more stretch and openness across your heart and chest, feeling those shoulder blades release around that roll up that you're laying down on. Good. Take a nice deep inhale through your nose. Open your mouth. Sigh the breath out. Let it go. Ha. Good. And then let's just stretch our arms up overhead so palms can face in towards each other. And maybe circle around in the ankles. Just go a few times each direction. Good. And then you can release your arms by your side. So start to bend your knees. You might need to just move that bottom prop out of the way. And from here, we're going to roll onto our right side. So you can just come off your propage. We're going to come into just our classic twist here. And I want you to give you the option to use some props here. Sometimes that can feel nice. So we're going to support this up a little bit. So I definitely would like for you to have a blanket or a block. You'll have that on your left side. So we're not going to release all of the way down. And then if you happen to have a second blanket or a cushion that you could grab off the couch, a pillow from the bed, a beach towel would work great. We're going to take a little support between the knees here as well. So kind of get your setup there. And this is kind of nice. It just makes the twist a little less intense. You may also find that you want a little something underneath your head here. So let's roll onto our right side, coming into that fetal position. You're going to decide how deeply you want your knees bent. That's entirely up to you. Just taking a couple of breaths here. So your left palm is on top of your right palm. Good. And then as you inhale, you're going to start to stretch that left arm up and over. You might need to snuggle that blanket a little closer to you. So I just want you to give that left shoulder a little support. Good. And then just pressing into the center of the back of your head to start here. Eyes closed, finding that rhythm of your breath. You might have to set it up again each time you come into a new pose. So inhaling to 5, 6, 7, 8. And then exhaling to that same number. There is a sensation of the left side of your waist gently releasing down towards the floor. We're going to be here a few minutes. So the other thing that's important about our restorative class is to always be really picky. Be like the princess and the pea. So if something feels out of place with your props, or if you need more propage, if it feels like there is a limb hanging and it's uncomfortable, find some supports, move things around. Sometimes there's just like a wrinkle in the blanket that you're noticing. So do be picky about that. You want to have this really lovely sense of ease as you melt into these props. So if it feels good with that support underneath your left shoulder, stay here like this. If you tend to be a little more open in your shoulders and you want to just move that out of the way, you'll know that that works in your body if your left shoulder blade is releasing down to the mat. And then the other option here is to very gently start to roll onto your left cheek. So you'll just get a little stretch through that right side of your neck. And of course, if you go there and it doesn't feel good in your body, just come back to center. Just check in with your breath. Make sure that the inhale is nice and full, and then the exhale The length matches that of the inhale. Observe if you've started to think about anything, started to worry about anything. Maybe you're daydreaming. Sometimes daydreaming can be really nice. So if that's where you're at, I'm going to say stick with it. As long as you're in a good place, it's kind of like falling asleep. Sometimes that's what we need. We've got about another minute here. Maybe as you exhale, feel those shoulder blades underneath you just really melt down into the earth. Good, nice, full, complete inhale. So if you have that prop off to the left, the blanket, you're just gonna move it over to the right here. And then we're all gonna just bring that left palm on top of our right palm. So coming back to that fetal position on the right side. I'm just taking a couple of breaths here, letting everything even out. And then we're going to start to roll into our left side. So a couple ways you can do this. You've got that blanket between your thighs or that pillow, so you can kind of squeeze in. You'll find a little bridge pose, and then knees come off to the left. Then you can set up so that you have this support for that right arm when we open up. Taking right palm on top of left palm here. So finding the fetal position on the left side. Again, you can have your knees hugging in as much as feels good in your body. Nice. As you inhale, start to stretch that right arm up and over so you're making that rainbow shape. And just for like the first minute, maybe for the full time, just let that shoulder relax on a pillow or a blanket. So we're not going so deep into this twist. Looks good. Right away, keying into just noticing, does this side feel different in your body? Is it about the same? Just starting pressing into the center of your head. So if your eyes were open, you'd be gazing up at the ceiling. As you exhale, just visualize the right side of your waist melting down towards the floor. As you start to open up a little more here. We're moving to about like 20 minutes into class here. So maybe you're finding that you are really starting to relax and feel really quiet. So you're dropping into that parasympathetic nervous system. You're getting into this deep rest, restore, heal mode. It's this really nice healing state. If you'd like to move that blanket out from underneath your right arm, if you tend to be a little more open in your shoulders, again, you'll know that that's okay in your body if you can feel that right shoulder head pressing down. If there's any tension or tightness there, just keep the prop underneath. And then maybe wherever you're at, you start to roll onto your right cheek. So you're going to feel a little stretch in the left side of the neck. Again, maybe just visualize exhaling through the bottom of your shoulder blades. So you're releasing down more into the mat. About 5, 6, 7 more breaths here. Good. Take a nice deep inhale. Start to bring your gaze or just bring your head back to center. Good. And then as you exhale, go ahead and bring your right palm on top of your left palm, just finding that fetal position again, taking a moment or two here. Good. So we're going to transition into our supported bridge pose. So you can move the blanket out from underneath or from in between your thighs. You might need to resituate on your mat. So a couple of options here. If you're using blocks, you're just going to set up for your bridge pose. You'll press into your feet and then you'll slide the block underneath you. And less is more today. So, lowest height, medium height. Maybe you're using a stack of books underneath you. You could roll up your mat. If you have a bolster, you might be able to pull that underneath you as well. If you have a really firm bolster and you're a little on the shorter side, it might be easier to approach this pose by sitting up on the bolster. And you want to land so that you have that sacrum on the bolster here. And then coming on down. So a couple different options to get there. Again, if it feels like you need a little support underneath your head, slide a blanket just down the length of your neck. And then you can take your arms any place that feels good. So we've opened up a little bit across the heart and chest. So arms can come out wide. You can do a cactus shape if you want a little more stretch in the shoulders. And then find that breath. And this is such a beautiful pose to feel the inhalation and to really breathe expansively into the front of the body, the sides of the body, the back of the body. And then you have the bottom of the torso, the middle torso, the upper torso. Especially as you're filling up. On that inhale, see if you can send your breath out. Feels like your chin is gently tucking towards your chest here. And you might even visualize that the opposite way. So especially on the inhale, it's like your chest lifts towards your chin. And even though this is a restorative pose, we do want to make sure that we don't start to roll to the outer edges of the feet or that the toes turn out. Sometimes that happens. So just landing with the knees over the ankles. And then you can think Tadasana feet here. So there's this gentle lift of the arches as you press into the four corners of the feet. As you exhale here, you can empty all of the air out down through your tailbone. So there is this sense the tailbone is directing forward. That helps you to find more length through the sides of the waist as well. Do another little scan of your body. Are you gripping toes, inner thigh, fingers? Is there tension in your face and jaw? Soften in those places. When your attention wanders, come back to your breath. Good. So if you're happy here, you're going to stay here. If you'd like to come into supported shoulder stand, you're going to bend right knee in, then left, and then you're going to extend your legs up. So heels landing over your sit bones. Sometimes this can be a little awkward if you're on a block, so you might need to go down to the lower level and kind of readjust things. You still want to make sure that that block or the support that you're using is underneath your sacrum, so it should feel pretty comfortable here. The tendency sometimes is for the legs to come way back. So again, you're just making this kind of L shape with your body. We're going to stay here for a few minutes. That being said, if this at any point starts to feel a little too intense for you, you're just going to bend your knees, place your feet back down on the mat, come into your supported bridge. You may have observed as you lifted the legs that a little more weight, a little more pressure went into your shoulders. So that happens in this pose. That being said, this is a really safe way of doing the pose. When we do this pose, I guess more in the classic sense, a lot of pressure on the neck. So it can be not the best pose for a lot of us. So doing it in this supported fashion is really nice because we're taking some of the weight out using this prop. Good. So if your legs are extended towards the ceiling, just go ahead and release down. Let's find another minute here in this bridge pose. Good, nice deep inhale. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out. And then inhale, stretch the arms up overhead again. Maybe interlace fingers and press the palms to face behind you. Take a couple breaths like that. It's waking everything up. Good, and then release your arms by your side. So again, options coming out of this pose. If you're taller, if you've got a block underneath, you can just press into your feet, slide out. If you're on the bolster, it might just feel easier to roll off one side to the other. So just coming out of this pose, and then if you are in your bridge pose, just roll to one side for a moment. And then from here, we're going to use our hands to help us press up, and we're going to come into another twist. We're going to come into our mermaid twist. So kind of doing back bending and then countering with twisting. So you're going to find your bolster. If you don't have a bolster, a couple blankets stacked on top of each other is really nice. You can grab a cushion off of the couch. We are going to bend our knees. All right. So it doesn't really matter what side you start on. So I'm on my right side here. I'm snuggling it up against my hip, this support that I'm using. All right. And then I'm going to take one hand on either side of this support. And then I'm going to start to walk myself in. And I'm going to just start laying on my right cheek. So my nose is pointing towards, it's going in the direction my knees are facing. And then you close your eyes here. You find that rhythm of your breath again. And just notice as we transition into new poses, it might just take a little bit of time to drop in to kind of find that sweet space. As you're exhaling here, just feeling the left side of your waist release down. You might feel a subtle little gentle stretch in the lower back. Particularly if you tend to have lumbar issues, this version of this supported restorative twist can be really nice for your body. Kind of gently help things to open up in that area. Observe if any tension has crept into your shoulders. And soften there. Notice if your attention is wandering, come back to your breath. We've got like another minute here on this side. Good, you're gonna use your hands to press into the earth. Nice and easy, just start to make your way up. Good, and let's just do a little side stretch here. So you can reach that left palm down. I'm gonna be going opposite of you probably here. And then just take that right arm up and over. You might need to press that left palm into a block if you don't reach the floor. So just a gentle little side stretch, which should feel really nice. Deep inhale. And then exhale, unwind, and we're gonna come to the other side. So however you wanna do this, you could flip around, so you're bringing your left hip, you can move your bolster. So just finding that same setup, snuggle this bolster up or the blankets that you have up nice and tight. One hand on either side, your knees are bent. And then just lay yourself down here, resting on your left cheek. So nose is pointing the direction of the knees if you're on the opposite side. And then just starting to melt into this side. Observing if it feels different at all. Making any little adjustments that you need so you feel really comfortable here. So again, be picky. As you start to find that even rhythm of your breath, as you exhale, just feel these right ribs melt down towards the floor. Soaking up the quiet. If restorative is your thing, just enjoying how good it feels to slow down, to relax, to not be doing. And if restorative isn't your thing, if this is really challenging for you, just being okay with that, but also accepting that you are doing something really good here, even if it feels hard. So just because we're not blasting through some sun salutes and chaturangas doesn't mean that your body, your brain isn't getting good benefit. Sometimes less is more. About 5 or 6 more good breaths. All right, so moving nice and slow. Just press down into your palms. Start to upright yourself here, and then let's do that little side stretch. So again, I'm going opposite of you. So root down into your right palm, either on a block or on the floor, and then take your left arm up and over. Feel that lovely stretch through the left side. Just a few breaths here. Beautiful work. Deep inhale. As you exhale, release down. So we're just going to be upright for one more pose. We're not going to be here super long. And then we're going to take this pose into a final pose on our back. So kind of combining everything. So I want you to come into your Baddha Konasana. So bringing the soles of your feet together. And I'm going to suggest that you have a wider diamond, particularly if you tend to be tighter in the inner thigh, the groin area. So just giving yourself a little more space. Then we're going to turn this into a forward fold. So this can look like a lot of things depending upon how flexible you are. So maybe you have your bolster and a blanket on top and you lay down there. Bolsters are really nice because you can kind of adjust them as well. And then I also have my trusty chair here. So some of us are super tight in this posture. So doing the forward fold is really intense. So you can simply just rest your head on a piece of furniture in front of you. A chair works really good. If it's got a hard surface like this, maybe you use a little blanket. So again, this need not be deep. Real gentle stretching here. Maybe not even feeling a stretch, honestly. Or a really subtle stretch. But finding your breath. And it is nice in this pose to be resting your forehead on something that just has this nice calming quality. And again, it gives this idea of being supported, which we want in our restorative practice. We're not trying to muscle ourselves into these poses. We're not going for an intense, deep stretch like we do in our yin class. Instead, we want to feel pretty relaxed. And we really want to connect with the breath. A few more good breaths here. Soften any places where you might be gripping. And just relax in. Full, smooth, deep inhale. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go. Ha. And then slowly start to roll on up here. All right, so let's just give the legs a little break here. So use your hands to the outside of your knees. Extend your legs to straight. Give them a little shake out. And we're going to come into our Supta Baddha Konasana. So all props on deck. We're going to have kind of use everything here. And I'm going to give you lots of variations and options. So if you do have your bolster or your cushion, that's going to come towards the back of the mat, long way. If you happen to have a strap, and do you know the version of this where you strap yourself in, that can be really nice. It gives you just a little tractioning. So the soles of the feet, I'm going to face you here, come together. And again, you know, we're not trying to go super deep here. So maybe your diamond is a little wider. So strap comes behind you, the small of your back, and then you can go over thighs. And then take the little towel underneath your feet. And it doesn't have to look like this. There's many ways to get into this. I've just found that this is the easiest. And then you can strap yourself in. So don't go super maximally tight. Give yourself a little give, especially because we're going to be laying back here. If you don't have a strap, but you want to feel a little support, we have that long blanket rolled up that we did at the beginning of the class. So you can actually use that. You'll snuggle it underneath your toes, and then it'll come underneath your ankles and shins here. So that's another way to give yourself a little support. You could simply also just have feet on the mat. So soles of the feet together. So for a lot of us that are really tight, we're also going to want to take some blocks underneath, and I've kind of got it set up so that it's hitting the lower and the upper leg. All right, so from here, we're going to start to lay back on our bolster. Again, this might be a nice place to take a blanket just to give your head a little proppage. If you have an extra blanket too, you might even want to take that on top of you. And then you're going to find a place that feels good with your arms. So in fact, some of us might even need a little support underneath the arms. If you tend to be a little tighter in the shoulders, that might be nice. If you're shorter, if your limbs aren't as long and monkeyish as mine, you might find that you need a little support. So again, we want this to feel really easy. And we've opened up the heart and chest. We've done some back bending. We did our Baddha Konasana seated before we came into this. We're just combining everything here. So soak up this sense of ease, this sense of spaciousness that you're finding in your body. Find that steady, beautiful rhythm of your breath again. It just feels really easy. There's no rush. You might even just imagine that you're laying on a sunny beach, listening to the ocean waves roll in and out. Feeling the sun on your skin. Maybe smelling the salt in the air. And just having this really lovely sensory experience, even if it's just in your head. Let's go ahead and do a little of our Viloma breath, so our 3-part breath. I'm just going to explain it really quick so you don't have to follow along this time, just so you know where we're going. So we're going to take a nice deep inhale through the nose, and then we're going to take a full complete exhale through the nose. We're going to completely empty out. We're going to pause at the bottom of the breath. Then we're going to inhale up in 3 parts, pausing in between each part. So we'll inhale up to the belly button, pause. We'll inhale another third of the way. So just to those lower ribs, those floating ribs, we'll pause the breath. Then we're going to inhale all the way up underneath the collarbones, pausing the breath there. And then we'll turn the breath around, exhaling through the nose, emptying out, and then we'll just take a couple of recovery breaths. So as you're doing this, if it feels like you need to breathe at any point, especially as we're inhaling up in those 3 parts, breathe, listen to that. If this just isn't feeling right for you today, skip this pranayama and just stick with the breath that you're doing. And then also notice in those retentions if you start to clench and if you start to grip a little bit. So try to keep your body nice and soft and relaxed. All right, so here we go. We're going to take a nice deep inhale through the nose. Full complete exhale through the nose. Little pause at the bottom, you're completely empty. Inhale 1/3 of the way up to your belly button, pause. Inhale another third of the way to your floating ribs, pause the breath. Inhale all the way up underneath your collarbones. Pause the breath, feel that stretch across your heart and chest, that lift of your sternum. Exhale the air out through your nose, empty out. And when you get to the bottom of your breath, the bottom of your exhale, just take a couple rounds of normal breath. And here we go again. So nice deep inhale through your nose. Full complete exhale through your nose. Empty out, pause at the bottom. Inhale 1/3 of the way up, pause. Inhale another third of the way, pause the breath. Inhale all the way up underneath your collarbones. Pause the breath. Shoulder blades drape over the bolster underneath you. Turn the air around, exhale through your nose, empty out. Good, and just return to normal breathing when you reach the bottom. And from here, we're going to make our way out of the Baddha Konasana in our legs. So you're going to stay in this position basically. If you've got a strap, you're just going to, sometimes you can kind of sneak your feet out. You may have to roll up and unbuckle the strap. So bring the knees in and then extend them to straight. If that feels too intense on the lumbar, just some blocks or a blanket underneath the knees will feel really good. So finding our final resting pose here, supported Shavasana. So make sure that you're really comfortable. And if you're feeling cold at all, a little blanket on top of you will be nice. We want to feel really comfortable here. And then completely just surrender to these final moments. Soak up your breath. Soak up this sense of ease in your body. Soak up this quiet. Shavasana. Good. Take a nice deep inhale here. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out. Ha. And then just start to bring a little gentle movement back to your body. Circle ankles, wrists. Stretch your arms up overhead. And then you're going to bend your knees. Release your arms down by your side. And then you're just going to roll off your setup nice and easy. Coming into the fetal position and just pausing there a moment. Good, and then use your hands to help you press up to comfortable seats. Just observe here how quiet and relaxed and calm you feel. Hopefully. Send yourself love and gratitude for showing up, for working hard in a way that we usually don't work hard. So relaxing and getting still and quiet. No, it feels kind of counterintuitive. Just know that you've done a lot of really good work here. You've created some space inside, some quiet inside. So just promise yourself that you're going to carry a little of this feeling with you into the rest of the day, the rest of the week ahead. You'll lose it. If you want to find it, maybe you just pause and connect with your breath. Maybe you do a quick little few minute pose, restorative pose, if you have time to do so. Bring your palms together at your heart and just bow your head with a smile. Beautiful work today. Thank you. Namaste. If you can just stay here, I give you permission if you need me to call employers, bosses, and call out sick for you, let me know. Oh, otherwise it's back to reality.
Have a good weekend, Jana. That felt great.
Thank you, Kim. You too. Oh, I'm glad to hear it.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Pamela.
Jana, that was great.
Oh, good. It felt good for me too.
Yeah.
And now we go back to reality and pick up our prop mess.
I know. I'm all over the place here. I am
too. It's a disaster. That means you did restorative right.
I guess so. Never have too many props.
Yeah, exactly.
Bye-bye.
Exactly. Never too many. Have a good one. Bye-bye.